The year was 1518. The place Strasbourg, a bustling city in what is now France. The summer sun beat down. But something strange was happening in the streets. People were dancing. Not for joy, not for celebration. They danced with a terrible, uncontrollable frenzy. It began with a single woman, Frau Troffea. She stepped into the street and began to move. Her body swayed, her feet pounded the cobblestones. There was no music, but she danced with wild abandon. She danced for hours, then days, her body a blur of motion. People stopped to stare, some laughed, others were unnerved. This was no ordinary dance. It was something unsettling, something disturbing. Little did they know Frau Troffea's solitary dance was only the beginning. It was the spark that would ignite a firestorm of madness. Within days, others joined Frau Troffea in her strange and terrible dance. One by one, then in droves, people were seized by an irresistible urge to move. They danced in the streets, in the marketplace, in their homes. They danced until their bodies gave out. The dancing was not coordinated, it was not graceful. It was a chaotic whirlwind of flailing limbs and contorted faces. Those caught in its grip seemed possessed, their eyes vacant, their bodies driven by an unseen force. They danced without pause, without rest for hours on end. Sleep offered no escape. Exhausted dancers would collapse only to be jolted awake moments later, compelled to resume their frenzied movements. Food and water were ignored. The dancers were consumed by a single, all-encompassing need to dance. As days turned into weeks, the situation grew more dire. The relentless dancing took its toll. Bodies pushed beyond their limits began to fail. Muscles cramped and spasmed. Shoes were worn through, leaving feet bloody and blistered. Still, they danced. Heat stroke and exhaustion set in. Heart attacks and strokes felled dancers in their tracks. The streets of Strasbourg, once vibrant with life, became a macabre stage for a deadly dance marathon. The stench of sweat, urine and death permeated the air. Estimates vary, but it's believed that dozens, perhaps even hundreds, perished during the plague. The dead were hastily buried, their passing a grim testament to the devastating power of the unseen force that held the city captive. The city authorities, desperate to regain control, turned to the prevailing wisdom of the time. Physicians were summoned, but they were baffled. They could find no physical cause for the strange affliction. There was no fever, no rash, no obvious signs of illness. Religious leaders were called upon to exorcise the demons they believed possessed the dancers. Special stages were erected and musicians hired, in the misguided belief that encouraging the dancing might somehow purge the city of its affliction. The result was more chaos, more exhaustion, and more death. Nothing seemed to work. The dancing plague continued unabated, a terrifying spectacle that defied explanation and mocked all attempts to stop it. The city of Strasbourg, once a centre of trade and culture, was brought to its knees by a force no one understood. Section 5. Searching for a cause, the enigma deepens. For centuries, the dancing plague of 1518 has remained one of history's most baffling enigmas. How could a seemingly normal summer day in a prosperous city descend into such madness? What could compel hundreds of people to dance themselves to death? Numerous theories have been proposed, each attempting to shed light on the darkness that enveloped Strasbourg. Some historians point to the social and religious upheavals of the time, suggesting that the plague was a manifestation of mass stress and anxiety. Others have explored the possibility of poisoning, speculating that the dancers may have ingested ergot, a fungus that can contaminate rye grain and cause hallucinations and convulsions. Yet no definitive answer has ever been found. The dancing plague of 1518 continues to haunt our collective imagination, a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lie hidden within the human experience. Section 6. The grip of mass hysteria. One of the most compelling explanations for the dancing plague centers on the concept of mass hysteria, also known as mass psychogenic illness. This phenomenon occurs when a group of people, often under stress or in a heightened emotional state, begin to experience similar physical or psychological symptoms. In the case of Strasbourg, It's been suggested that the initial dancers, perhaps suffering from undiagnosed mental illness or driven to desperation by poverty or hardship, became a focal point for the anxieties of the community. As the dancing spread, it took on a life of its own, fueled by fear, suggestion, and the powerful human instinct to conform. The lack of a clear physical cause for the dancing, combined with the social and religious tensions of the time, created a fertile ground for mass hysteria to take root. The more people succumbed to the strange compulsion, the more real it seemed, creating a vicious cycle that spiraled out of control. Section 7. The taint of ergot, a poisoned harvest. While mass hysteria offers a plausible explanation for the social contagion aspect of the dancing plague, it doesn't fully account for the physical toll the dancing took on its victims. This is where the theory of ergot poisoning comes into play. Ergot is a fungus that can infect rye grain, a staple food in medieval Europe. When ingested, ergot produces a range of symptoms, including hallucinations, convulsions, and gangrene. It's been suggested that the dancers of Strasbourg may have unknowingly consumed ergot-contaminated bread, leading to their bizarre behavior and eventual demise. Proponents of this theory point to the fact that ergot poisoning can cause choreiform movements, which resemble dancing. They also note that outbreaks of ergot poisoning, known as St. Anthony's fire, were not uncommon in Europe during the Middle Ages. Section 8. A mystery endures the unanswered questions. Despite the compelling evidence supporting both the mass hysteria and ergot poisoning theories, the dancing plague of 1518 remains shrouded in mystery. Neither explanation fully accounts for all the observed phenomena, and there are still many unanswered questions. Why did the dancing start in Strasbourg and not elsewhere? Why did it last for so long, and why did it eventually stop? These are just a few of the questions that continue to puzzle historians and scientists alike. Some researchers have proposed a combination of factors at play, suggesting that a perfect storm of social unrest, psychological vulnerability, and environmental factors may have converged to create the conditions necessary for the dancing plague to erupt. Section 9. The dancing plague in history and imagination. The dancing plague of 1518, though a relatively isolated event, has captured the imagination of artists, writers, and filmmakers for centuries. It serves as a potent symbol of the fragility of the human psyche and the thin veil that separates order from chaos. The plague has been the subject of numerous books, plays, and films, each offering its own interpretation of the events and their significance. In these works, the dancing plague often serves as a metaphor for the social, political, or environmental ills of the time. Whether viewed as a case study in mass hysteria, a consequence of environmental poisoning, or a chilling example of the unknown, the dancing plague of 1518 continues to fascinate and frighten us, reminding us of the enduring power of the unexplained. Section 10. A chilling reminder. The fragility of the human psyche. The dancing plague of 1518 stands as a chilling reminder of the fragility of the human psyche and the mysterious forces that can grip our minds and bodies. It serves as a cautionary tale, urging us to acknowledge the complex interplay between our physical, mental, and social environments. While we may never know the true cause of the dancing plague, its legacy continues to resonate. It reminds us that even in our modern age of scientific advancement, there are still mysteries that defy explanation, phenomena that challenge our understanding of the world and ourselves. The dancing plague of 1518 serves as a stark reminder that we are not always in control of our own bodies and minds. It is a testament to the power of the unknown and the enduring human need to find meaning in the face of chaos.